All right, so the lab is all about going over all the ingredients that it takes for us to do what we do in our industry, and our industry being so vast as real estate. In my world in finance, there's a lot of details that go on. Mm-hmm. And so I know now for you, a little bit about yourself. You specialize in ADUs.
That's right.
All things built.
That's right.
Right. But what's ironic is some of your background, your history to this. Mm-hmm. So introduce yourself.
My name is CJ Johnson, and started out 17 years old in the U.S. Navy. And once I got out the Navy, wanted to give back to the community. So started working for the VA for a little bit, and didn't really like what I was seeing there. So I still wanted to give back to the community. So I started working as a pastor. So I was a community pastor. Boom, COVID hit, shutting down the small church that I built. The very next week, we weren't going to have a place to meet up. Mm-hmm. And my buddy Kalani reaches out and says, "Hey, we got a building over here. You want to meet up here?" And I'm like, "Sure." And at that time, I didn't have a job. I was a full-time student in college. And the very next week, I was like, I want to work with this guy because he's opened up, his building in the middle of the COVID, mm-hmm. To a church. There's nothing you can really get out of that, but, providing value to the community. I'm like, I want to see if I can work with this guy. I asked him if he got any job openings. He's like, yeah, I was actually looking for someone to to work here. And so it started up like, hey, these are I don't know anything about ADUs, right. I don't know anything about design and permitting, but, I have this leadership as a Navy chief, and I know how to figure stuff out, so I was like, let's go from there. So I started being an office manager there, and just kind of fell in love with the product and the process. And I really like understanding codes and regulations and zoning. So that's, how I started working in this industry.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember when we first met because we're all military guys.
Yep.
Right. So for a lot of you guys that don't know, AD Geeks was started originally with Kalani and I was
and you
and me. I always kind of keep that on the down low for the most part, just because right. I try to give you guys a lot of the kudos for what you grew. But it was always amazing to me because from the lending standpoint, I always had such a hard time, bro, trying to put together information for clients and having to corral the contractor, the architect, the permitting process, keep everybody on the same page, stay within budget.
Right.
Right. Because if you're not within budget, you're not going to get the money.
Right.
And so having to deal with all that, I was like, oh my God, this is nuts. So that's kind of how the concept was born. I told them, I was like, bro, why aren't we just the hub of the wheel? You can control the entire aspect of the transaction.
Right.
Walk the client through the permits, walk the client through and I remember meeting after architect and going through all this workflow of the process.
Right.
And then fast forward, I remember in a year, you guys banged out like 200 projects.
That's right.
200 individual projects, not units.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I remember looking at that like, oh, snap. Like we got some momentum. We're doing some big things, right.
It's working.
Yeah, something's working here. It's like the Kalani used to tell me, it's like, hey, we're flying. The rocket's taking off, and like we can't look down. Just keep going.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's been awesome to see though, because as you guys had made your growth, and I'm watching all of you as individuals grow.
Right.
Right. I'm just kind of the Wizard of Oz in the back. And, fast forward now that the company's matured, Kalani's gone off and done his own thing. I sold my interest in that company.
Right.
And now you have your own construction firm.
That's right.
And so now watching you grow has been amazing. It's been amazing. And and I love the stories of how all this comes together. But the most beautiful thing is, I think the way your approach is to a lot of the business is very selfless. It's very consultative.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're coming from a position of like, hey, let me just help you understand.
Yeah.
And seems like that's just been working great for you to grow your business that way.
Yeah, there's something that I've seen, like a lot of Lifehouse is connected to my spiritual journey. And I've never really had this idea in my head that this is all about making money. Obviously, you got to take care of your family, right? But this is about, how do I provide value to the community? Right. That's what it is in general. Right. And, you have the spiritual side. Anthony, you provide value in many different ways, right? You're a father, right? You're a husband. Yep. There's a lot of different ways you provide value to the community besides just, okay, I can help you with a loan. There's just way more ways you're providing value. So the way I see it is like, okay, this is the vessel of, providing value that, oh, by the way, this is also a business.
Right. So the name of your business you started off is Lifehouse. Is there anything in particular in the name that you chose?
Yeah.
Does it represent something for you?
Yeah. So Lifehouse, everything represents something down to the logo. So the core name Lifehouse is taken away from biblical foundations. So in the Bible, your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. So Lifehouse is representing that body or that temple. And then also in scripture, it says, in my Father's house, Jesus says, in my Father's house, there are many mansions or houses or rooms, you can say. And so the idea is that Lifehouse goes into these spaces that are already existing, they're already there, but makes them better. That's the idea of Lifehouse. Because I can, like, let's say you're right here, your body is a house. Let's just imagine your body is a house. And let's say that my words that I'm speaking right now are improving that house. Let's say I'm adding value to your house by the words I'm speaking, saying, hey, Anthony, this is what I see in you along our friendship journey. This is what I see in you. And you're like, wow, I haven't heard somebody say that to me. Dang, that encourages me, that you see that in me and maybe somebody else doesn't see it. So you go into a house, you're like, this is a nice house. Now, it's a physical house, right? This is a nice house. And then Laura comes in, who's my wife. She's also the COO of the company, and says she makes these design boards for all of our clients. And she says, this house is great, but what do you think about this? And it's usually like, oh, wow. Yeah, that would be amazing to have that in my house,
So you guys are actually, you really thought deep and hard about this. And it sounds like for what you're doing is you're looking at it from a spiritual aspect of bringing the house to life.
That's right. It's life. Everything that the premise of everything in my life, not just the company, is how do I add life to a person, a place, a thing, whatever it is, a company, a concept. Because the concept of design, permit, and build is already there. It was already there when we started the company. So how do we take that concept and bring life to it? A lot of the ways we decided to do that was to make sure that the client has full transparency of the process and all the fees and things like that. But also there's a hidden tone of in the community of we don't really trust contractors and things like that. So I was like, well, how can we make that better? And so I created a not just a ADU feasibility study, but we created a construction feasibility, which compares different contractors that I know, and then their reputation in the community, their license number, all of that stuff is in that ADU feasibility construction. So it's another product that we created just to make sure that there's transparency there. And, with ADU companies, that client has that trust in the ADU company because they already went through 6 to 9 months of the journey with them.
Right.
So it wouldn't be good for my company to send them off to a contractor that's not going to be, giving them the same amount of love and attention that I was.
It's funny that you say that because I think in our industry, people don't have an appreciation for accuracy.
That's right.
And I have partners that I love to work with that I always refer business to. And even for like my appraiser, I'm like, bro, I don't need you to come in at a specific value.
Right.
I just need you to be accurate.
Right.
That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Right. And it seems so little to ask, but the thing is, I think in all these industries whatsoever, the more that I see people cut corners, right, the more that problems can potentially keep coming up. And it leaves a horrible taste in your mouth. Yeah. I actually just had this recently. I'm helping somebody with a build, and he wanted to be his own general contractor. And so he hired all his subs. Yeah. And as I'm on the phone with him, I said, bro, let me tell you a story. And I started talking to him about, developing property. Yeah. And so he goes, man, all that happened to me. And I'm like, yeah, because here's the reality. As a individual into this new industry, if you don't have all the cost of your items specific and detailed, mm-hmm, and the cost of the labor specific and detailed, right, and you leave it vague, I'm going to install me some kitchen cabinets. That's cool. Is it going to be Indonesian teak monk, yeah, hand stained, or are we getting the cheap stuff from IKEA or whatever? Right. Then you're like, oh yeah, here's the bill, and you're like, what? Wait a minute, that's not how much you told me. Mm-hmm. Well, oh yeah, but by the way, they didn't include the labor. Yeah. And then what's this extra fee over here? Oh, yeah, well, that's the hardware. Yeah. What are you talking about? Oh, and then this line over here, here's all the demo that we had to do. Right. Right. And so from the lending side, when I used to get this stuff, I'm like, hey, listen, here's how much you have. You have $300,000 available. We're going to subtract 10% for cost overrun. That leaves you with $270,000. With $270,000, what can you build? All in. And I need it broken down. And that's where I saw a lot of contractors choke. Yeah. Like, what? Yeah. What? Because now I'm holding them to their accountable. Yeah. And they're like, well, I like to pad my stuff with another 10%. No, don't do that. I'm already doing it over here. Yeah. Oh, well, and then all of a sudden they disappear. Yep. The other thing that I've witnessed too is how a lot of these people, when they come into this business, they ask for a specific amount up front before they even break ground or do anything. They're like, well, I need $50,000 to get started. Yeah, they're not allowed to do that no more though. They've never been supposed to do that. I'm like, they're never supposed to do that. Right. Because the guy, and I've had this happen to me. Yeah. I'm thinking I'm working with somebody in good faith. I've already cut them $25,000, another $25,000. Then they're like, hey, I need 50 to order a bunch of material. Cool. But the thing is that when you have someone like yourself as the intermediary, mm-hmm, you're able to make sure that they provide the receipts. Yeah. And everything there's like a fund control mechanism in there. Yeah. I think that, and thank you for pointing that out, because I think that there's a lot of value in having someone kind of moving around in the entirety of the process and kind of overseeing it, because things get kind of weird when you're going direct to contractor, mm-hmm, for a client to go direct to contractor or try to sub it out. Like mm-hmm, you're saying, mm-hmm, it's like things get weird. Numbers get moved around. Oh, I said this price at the beginning. Now we're going to change that and all this stuff. So no, you get that person. Assumptions. Yeah. Change orders midstream. All of that. Because I hear it from the contractor side too. Yeah. They're like, oh, well, this guy wants me to he wants to do some of the work himself and cut us a deal. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Yeah. If he does this, how much labor is how much money are you saving on that? Yeah. Oh, well, like $2,500. Well, this guy thinks it's $10,000. Right. So he thinks it's $10,000. You think it's $2,500 because you haven't solidified the expectations in that. Right. Super important. Yeah. The other thing that I've also found that's very strange in this industry is that